everyone, welcome to the introduction of microeconomics class. I am Suruchi Sharma, PGT Economics, Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan. You have already studied a few economic concepts like economy and its three sectors, that is primary, secondary and tertiary. You have also studied about concept of economic activities, individual income and national income in your previous classes. Today, we will explore the fundamentals of microeconomics, which is a branch of economics that focuses on individual economic agents and their interactions in the market, and shall also see that how microeconomics is different from macroeconomics. What are the central problems that are faced by all the economies and reason behind them? We will try to understand the concept of positive economics and normative economics. Let's dive right in. The expected learning outcomes after studying this topic are as follows. To understand the meaning of an economy, to classify three central problems of an economy, what to produce, how to produce and for whom to produce. To recall about microeconomics and macroeconomics and able to compare between two. To use given content in positive economics and normative economics and interpret their situations. Let us begin with the meaning of an economy. I hope you are aware of this term. If you are not aware of this term, I will tell you. Economy, it refers to the system by which people provides the means to work and earn living. The vital process of an economy are production, consumption and investment. All such institutions and organizations which provide people with the means to work and earn an income are collectively called an economy. You must have heard this term, economic problem, for the first time, but don't worry at all. I will be explaining this. Economic problem, it means the problem of making choices among alternative uses of resources, since the resources are scarce in relation to unlimited wants. For example, with limited resources, a consumer will have to make a choice between the MP3 player and the trainers. With limited resources, the government will have to make a choice between the fighter plane and the schools. Let us understand what are the reasons behind the economic problem. Economic problems arises because wants are unlimited, resources to satisfy these wants are limited and resources have alternative uses. We will discuss these three reasons one by one. First one is unlimited human wants. The wants of people are unlimited and keep on multiplying. As soon as one want is satisfied, another new want emerges. So, human wants are never ending. Second is scarcity of resources. Scarcity of resources means limited resources in relation to unlimited wants. For example, the resources like land, labor and capital are available in limited quantities in an economy and cannot produce all what people want. Scarcity of resources is the root cause of an economic problem. Last reason is alternative uses of resources. The scarce resources have alternative uses. That means a resource can be used for producing more than one product or satisfying more than one want. This creates the problem of choice. Which product should be produced or which want should be satisfied first? Problems of allocation of resources. Central problems are common economic problems faced by each and every economy. They arise due to scarcity of resources, as we all know that human wants are unlimited and available resources in relation to its demand are scarce and limited. Alternative uses of resources. available resources can be put to multiple uses. Hence, the economy has to make choice among alternative uses of available resources. There are three central problems of an economy: what to produce, in what quantities, how to produce, and for whom to produce. I know that you are desperate to know about all these three central problems. Now, it's the time to discuss about all these three central problems. The first one is what to produce in what quantities. This problem relates to the allocation of resources to different goods and services. Since resources are limited, a society needs to decide what goods and services should be produced and in what quantities. It involves making choices about the allocation of resources to different sectors of an economy, such as agriculture, industry, and services. The problem is compounded further by the question of which combination should be produced, whether to produce more of consumption goods like food, clothing, or investment goods like machine, tools, and equipments, whether to use more resources in education and health or building military services. Next is the problem of how to produce. It is the problem relating to choice of technique of production. It means that which technique of production should be used in producing goods and services selected. Broadly, the choice is between two types of techniques: labor intensive technique and capital intensive technique. As shown in the table also, the technique which is using more labor, that is 10 units, and less capital, which is machine, that is 2 unit, will be labor intensive technique. And the technique which uses more capital, that is 5 units, and labor, that is 2 units, is capital intensive technique. This problem arises due to availability of alternative techniques of production. Last one is the problem of for whom to produce. This problem relates to the distribution of income among different factor inputs. Goods and services are produced for those who have capacity to pay. Capacity of the people to pay for goods depend upon their level of income, which in turn depends on the market conditions of demand and supply of their factor inputs. Here, factor input means factor of production like labor, land, capital, and entrepreneur. This problem focuses on the distribution of goods and services among different individuals or groups within a society. It involves making decisions about who will receive the product and in what quantities. Let us see how economic activities are organized in an economy. Economy is divided in two parts: centrally planned economy and market economy. In a centrally planned economy, the government or the central authority plans all important activities in an economy. But in a market economy, all the economic activities are organized through the market. A market, as studied in economics, is an institution which organizes the free interaction of individuals pursuing their respective economic activities. You must be curious to know about positive economics and normative economics. Positive economics is that branch of economics which is based on facts and actual data. It deals with the real life situations and justifiable by facts. It seeks to answer questions like what is and what will be, rather than making judgments about what should be. Positive economic statements can be tested and proved true or false as the case may be. Example of positive economic statement is an increase in the price of petrol leads to a decrease in its quantity demanded. But on the other hand, normative economics is that branch of economics which deals in economic issues as what ought to be. It is suggestive in nature. Normative statements can only be assessed relative to beliefs and value judgments. It deals with subjective statements and aims to provide guidance on what ought to be done in economic matters. It addresses questions like what should be and what is the ideal situation. It cannot be tested or proven true or false. Example of a normative economic statement is the government should increase taxes on high income individuals to reduce income inequality. The example of positive economics are as follows. Real gross domestic product is calculated on the basis of base year price. There is high rate of unemployment in India, whereas the examples of normative economics are as follows. The unemployment rate should be reduced. The government should decrease its own expenditure and increase taxes to reduce the rate of inflation in an economy. Now it's time to understand the meaning of microeconomics and macroeconomics and how both are different. Microeconomics is the branch of economics that studies the behavior of individual economic agents such as households, firms and industries for different goods and services. For example, demand by a consumer and supply by a producer. But in microeconomics, we try to figure out how prices and quantities of goods and services are determined through the interaction of individuals in these markets. By economic agents, we mean those individuals or institutions which take economic decisions. They can be consumers who decide what and how much to consume. They may be producers of goods and services who decide what and how much to produce. They may also be entities like the government, corporation, banks, which also decide and take different economic decisions like how much to spend, what interest rate to be charged on the credit and how much to tax. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, deals with the overall performance and behavior of the economy as a whole. It focuses on studying aggregate variables such as national income, employment, inflation and economic growth. Some of the important questions that are studied in macroeconomics are as follows. What is the level of total output in the economy? How is the total output determined? How does the total output grow over time? Are the resources of the economy, example labor, fully employed? What are the reasons behind unemployment of the resources? Why do prices rise? You will get answers to these questions in class 12 because you are going to study macroeconomics in detail next year. Let us discuss the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. The meaning of microeconomics. It is that part of economic theory which studies the behavior of individual economic units, and the meaning of macroeconomics is it is that part of economic theory which studies the economy as a whole. Tools of microeconomics are demand and supply. Tools of macroeconomics are aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Aim of microeconomics is to determine price of a commodity or factors of production. Aim of macroeconomics is to determine income and employment level of an economy. Microeconomics is also known as price theory. On the other hand, macroeconomics is also known as income and employment theory. Examples of microeconomics. They are the individual income and individual output, whereas the example of macroeconomics are national income and national output. Here are some tips. With that, you will be able to learn the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. In micro, the alphabet I stands for individuals. The term micro has been derived from the Greek word mikros, which means small. In macro, the alphabet A stands for aggregates. The term macro has been derived from Greek word macros, which means large. Let us now see how microeconomics and macroeconomics are interdependent to each other. Microeconomics depends on macroeconomics. Let us say price of a commodity is influenced by the general price level prevailing in the country. Similarly, macroeconomics is also depends on microeconomics. The example of this is national income is the sum total of factor incomes of all the residents of the country. Now, it's the time, the value we have learned after studying this topic is scarcity gives rise to the problem of choice. In today's session, we have discussed about different basic concepts related to scarcity and central problems of an economy. Also, we have learnt about microeconomics and macroeconomics, positive economics and normative economics. Now, it is the time to recapitulate topics of discussion. Positive economics is that branch of economics which deals with the economic issues as what is, what was and what will be. Normative economics is that branch of economics which deals with economic issues as what ought to be, or we can say what should be. Microeconomics studies the behavior of individual economic units, whereas macroeconomics studies the behavior of economy as a whole. Economic problem means the problem of making choices from alternative uses of resources. Economic problem arises because human wants are unlimited and resources to satisfy these wants are very limited, and resources have alternative uses too. Central problems are economic problems. There are three central problems of an economy: what to produce, in what quantities, second is how to produce, and the last one is for whom to produce. Let us assess ourselves after studying this topic. Environmental degradation and capital change impact ecosystem and population across the globe. Society ought to prioritize sustainable development practices and implement stringent regulations to mitigate environmental degradation and preserve natural resources for future generations. Now, you have to classify the following statements into positive economics and normative economics with suitable reasons. The first statement is positive economics. Why it is positive economics? Because it deals with the real life situations and justifiable by facts. And second statement is the example of normative economics, which deals with the situation as ought to be. Now, it's turn to the next question. Aman is interested in knowing the level of unemployment in India. Is it a macroeconomic study or a microeconomic study? I will tell you, it is a macroeconomic study, as Aman wants to know the level of unemployment in India as a whole, and as the concept is related to the aggregate. So, it is a macroeconomic study. Now, from the given picture, you have to tell and identify which kind of technique of production is used in an economy. As we can see, there are more laborers engaged in the production. So, we can say labor intensive technique is used for the production in an economy. Now, it's turn for the assignment. Kindly note down the questions and write their answers in your notebook. Although water is useful, yet it is cheap, On the contrary, diamond is not much of use. Still, it is very, very expensive. Give an economic reason for this paradox. The economic reason for this paradox is scarcity. Although water is useful, yet it is cheap due to its abundance in the economy. Diamonds are very, very expensive because they are scarce and people are ready to pay a high price for the diamonds. Next question is, scarcity and choice problem go together. Do you agree with the statement? Give reasons in support of your answer. The given statement is true. Scarcity of resources is the root cause of an economic problem. We live in a world of scarcity. All of us want better food, clothing, housing, schooling, entertainment, but resources are not enough to meet all our wants. Even the richest economy like America cannot satisfy all the needs of the people. Scarcity of resources give rise to the problem of choice, that is economic problem. If resources were available in plenty, there would not have been any problem of choice. Now, it's the turn of case study. Read the following case study and answer the following questions. Economics is about how people make decisions given their limited resources. The decisions are taken with regard to a basic economic activity such as production and consumption of goods and services and saving and investment. However, taking decision is not easy or simple. One must consider the wants and availability of resources while taking the decisions on production of goods and services. Let us see the questions based on this case study. Question number 1 is, economics is always about making choices with given dash. Options are A. Goods, B. Production, C. Investment, D. Resources. Answer to this question is D. Resources. Question number 2 is, which of the following components impacts the production decision in an economy? Option to these questions are A. Wants, B. Availability of resources, C. Both A and B, D. None of these. Answer is C. Both A and B. That's all for today's session. I hope this session would be fruitful to you. So in next part of this chapter, we will discuss about production possibility frontier and concept of opportunity cost. Till then, keep exploring till we meet again. Be safe and keep smiling.